How we doing, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the podcast. I am back with my co-host, Lane. Obviously, MLB free agency is not yet over, but we have a ton of moves to discuss as the past 3 weeks have been absolutely insane ever since we gave you guys our predictions. So I'm here with my guy, Lane. Lane, what's going on, man? How you doing?
How we doing? Ready to get this? Got some things to say, but we'll get to there.
We have a lot of teams to talk about, a shit ton of moves. I do want to say it feels a lot different from last year because we had the lockout and we had to wait, 3.5 months for any of these moves to happen at all. And now we kind of got them all in a flurry in December, and we're going to see that layoff period in the next 2 months, which kind of stinks, but I enjoy it earlier rather than not.
This is what we thought after the lockout would be, after we were just grasping for a season.
Yeah, and we waited about 2 days and nothing happened. And then it was like one by one, like day after day, we finally got like a move.
3 o'clock in the morning and all this crap. Wasn't nothing cool like this.
3 o'clock in the morning, we did get some stuff today, which honestly, Lane and I talked about this. We are very glad that we did not record because we were supposed to record last week. We were supposed to record on Sunday, but now we're finally here today. We're recording on Wednesday. There was obviously some big news that dropped this morning that we're going to get to. But I'm very thankful that we did not do that because we can now see the completion of pretty much all of these free agent deals.
Basically, everybody's gone.
Yep. So let's start. I want to start. We're going to go in alphabetical order. We're not going to talk about every single team because obviously if you're a Miami Marlins fan, you have not seen any moves whatsoever. They have not made a single signing. And we're not going to talk about the Oakland Athletics because I don't think them signing Trevor May is significant of 5 minutes of my time. So we're going to start with the Atlanta Braves. I think they had probably one of the more interesting off seasons of all of these MLB teams. They traded for Sean Murphy, but at the same token, they traded away William Contreras and they let Dansby Swanson walk, which is something that you and I did not see coming at all. We both projected him to go back to Atlanta. How would you assess this offseason for the Atlanta Braves?
You forgot they got rid of their number one prospect as well. So, I don't know if you saw that, but the left-handed pitcher they gave up was their number one prospect in the deal.
Oh, yes.
So, but then again, it's the Braves. I think that Anthopoulos is down in Atlanta. The guy's a wizard. Look at the team he's built. He's got them all on those pre-arb deals, which is what I'm hoping to see more of from. We'll get into my team, where I think they're headed. But they got, 8 core guys that are there for the next 4 to 9 years. I really don't think it's that significant they lose Dansby. Because at this rate, what is it? The next young guy that comes up that gets another $100 million deal this year over the next 6 years, like they've been doing with Michael Harris, Spencer Strider. So, Dansby hurts. He was a hometown guy. Saw his press conference with the Cubs. Said he had a sentimental value to the Cubs. Whole story about that. But the guy was right there from that area. He was meant to be a Brave for life. They couldn't lock him up. But I don't really know if Dansby wanted to be there. But then again, it's the Braves. They're going to find another young stud, lock him up pre-arbitration, and the world's going to wonder how they did it, and they stole a guy. As far as Sean Murphy goes, might have gave up a lot, but who cares? They're going to be good for the next 9 years, at least.
Yeah, so I think the Braves offseason is incredibly interesting. I will tap on Dansby Swanson. Dansby Swanson finally fully broke out this year. He was the number 1 overall draft pick from the Arizona Diamondbacks, finally got traded over legit shortly after, and then has played the entirety of his career as an Atlanta Brave. First-time All-Star this year. He had a great season, put up a shit ton of WAR, was a great defender. I want to say he was a 120 WRC plus guy. And now he's in Chicago, and my thinking with this is they now have Vaughn Grissom, who ended up slotting into that lineup because they had so many injuries. Of course, with Ozzie Albies this year, he missed a significant amount of time. He played a lot of second base there, and he's also a guy that can fill it in the outfield. So I think Vaughn Grissom slots right in that spot. I think that it was a correct decision on their part to let Dansby walk. And I just don't, the contract is very insignificant to me because I'm just very confused about the money. While I like Dansby Swanson and I like what he provided last year, I don't think that money is going to be worth it for the Chicago Cubs in the near future, just because I don't think he's going to have a season like he did last year over and over and over again. But yet again, everybody was getting paid.
Yeah, like we've been talking about. Everybody's getting overpaid. Let's be real.
The market cap that Aaron Judge set at $40 million a year, everybody's going to get their money. And obviously with Steve Cohen and the Mets and their, duo of $43 million pitchers a year, everybody's getting paid. So I can see where the money's at. But I just don't think it's going to age very well for Dansby Swanson and the Chicago Cubs. With Sean Murphy, I really, really I don't understand this trade. while I like Sean Murphy a lot, and I think he's, probably a top 10 catcher in baseball, I think it's pretty significant. For you to give away a guy like William Contreras, who is your DH, and he absolutely raked last year. He's been pretty consistent ever since he's come up with the Atlanta Braves. It was a big package to give up for a guy like Sean Murphy. And for this, they sent a majority of their players to Milwaukee, not to Oakland, which is stupid. And just for me to tap onto the Oakland A's real quick, what the actual fuck are you doing? You are literally handing these MLB teams your homegrown talents that are superstars, all-stars in this league. The Atlanta Braves, you've done it twice. You handed away Matt Olson, now you're giving away Sean Murphy. You gave away Matt Chapman last season. You gave away Chris Bassett last offseason. What the hell are you guys doing? And it's for pennies on the dollar, and this team is not going to be good anytime soon. No. I am begging that they sell that goddamn team.
I think it is in part to trying to move to Vegas, try and say, you know what, you don't want to let us out of this contract with Oakland. Whatever, fine, we'll make sure you make it that we have to move because we're not doing anything here. Stadium sucks, they're raising ticket prices, selling all the star guys. That's all it is. But yeah, Milwaukee, if anything, got everything they needed from that trade. I mean, really, what'd they lose?
I think Milwaukee came out as a winner because all they needed coming into this offseason from me was bats. They needed bats so badly. I think that offense has struggled so much over the past couple of years. We saw when they were even in the playoffs 2 years ago against the Atlanta Braves. They could not hit to save their goddamn lives, but they have the pitching. They've always had the pitching. Yeah. They have Corbin Burns. They have Brandon Woodruff. They have Freddie Peralta. They had Josh Hader. Now they have Devin Williams. They can pitch to save their lives, but now they added a bat, and I'm a big fan of it, even though they kind of subtracted from their offense, which we're going to talk about later with Hunter Renfroe and Colton Wong leaving. They both got traded away. But yeah, Brewers are weird. This offseason for the Atlanta Braves, I would probably put it at like a C+. I think it's weird what they did. The Dansby walking thing is weird.
Yeah.
And even the trade, I'm just not a huge fan of.
But then again, they'll make the most of it.
Yep, absolutely.
Somehow.
Because you know how great those guys are going to be. But I do think it's going to be a little bit of a different story this year, Lane. I do think it's going to be a different story. Okay, so I'm ready to talk about the next team. And this is where you just go on a tangent and just scream at me for about 15 minutes. We're going to talk about the Boston Red Sox, who had one of the more polarizing off seasons that I've ever seen in my entire life. Obviously, they let Xander Bogaerts walk to the San Diego Padres for one of the biggest overpays that I've ever seen in my life. But at the same token, these guys signed Masataka Yoshida from Japan. You guys signed Kenley Jansen. You signed Chris Martin. And you signed Justin Turner. I don't think any of those signings are bad. I think those signings are actually incredible. I think they're great. Kenley Jansen on that money is weird. But I think these are great signings. But at the same token, you lost Xander Bogaerts. You're probably going to lose Nathan Eovaldi. You lost JD Martinez to the Dodgers. You lost Michael Wacha. So really, what is this Red Sox team doing? Because I just cannot wrap my head around what Chaim Bloom in this organization is doing right now.
I'm at a loss for words. I mean, you've known this. I've expressed this multiple times. I said it in the last episode. Bogaerts was gone. That was my only faith in Chaim Bloom, and my only chance of him restoring his faith inside of me to be the leader of this organization. He's lost it. That means Devers is gone now. This guy is not loyal whatsoever. How do you not pay both those guys? And for everybody in my comments saying that it's the ownership, it's not. The ownership did not mandate him to not pay Bogaerts, to not pay Betts. They encouraged him to pay Betts, and he didn't want to do it. He saw this team a different direction. He gets pennies on the dollar for Betts. It turns out he's just going to DFA one of the guys. So basically, we traded Verdugo and Wong straight up for Betts because Jeter Downs is no longer on the team. You didn't want to pay JD. He was asking 1 year, $8 million. Didn't want to pay that. I mean, how much cheaper can you get? And then we go and supposedly overpay Masataka Yoshida. What? He was asking $45 million or whatever, and they paid him almost $110 or whatever it was after everything, bonuses and whatever else. What are we doing? And then you don't sign Bogaerts. So for sure, you're going to go out there, you're going to sign the best starting pitcher on the market, Carlos Rodon. No, instead, you let the Yankees go get him. What are we saving money for if Devers doesn't already have a contract? And if he doesn't have a contract by spring training, he's not going to have a contract by the end of spring training, which then means he's walking in free agency. And knowing Chaim's dumbass, he's not going to trade him. Even though Devers has voiced his frustrations with the team, told him he's not talking about contracts after spring training, we're going to get to the deadline. Devers is still going to be on the team with no contract. we're going to be sitting right here in this position very next year saying these same damn things because Heim is a cheap bastard. And it's not the ownership. I know they are big into buying other stuff. Dombrowski never had a problem buying. They never told him to stop all this. Like, Heim wasn't brought over here to become the race. That's not what this was. I don't care. You cannot convince me that the Henrys, Sam Kennedy, and them are telling this guy to do this. He has taken the blame for this. He has said this was his moves. He still acts like he's in Tampa. This isn't Tampa. I mean, we're saving all this money for what? There's nobody left to go get. What are we going to do? Go trade for somebody? And then what? Give up the two shortstops you took in consecutive first rounds? I don't understand it. And for fans saying they wanted to go get Correa or Swanson, what is this? For fans saying they want to go Correa and Swanson, why? We're not going to pay Bogaerts. We got 2 young guys like I just mentioned in the first round. You just signed Trevor Story. Let's just hope he can stay healthy and just save the money for now. Maybe pay Devers. Maybe overpay Devers. At this point, I don't care. Give Devers some money. I mean, just show us that you want to be competitive. Because right now, I'm looking at this. We got Yoshida. Never played a game in the MLB. How do we know what he's worth? Jansen, we need help in the bullpen, but why not just ride Garrett Whitlock? I'm just not understanding where we're spending money and why we're acting like we're the Tampa Bay Rays still. Heim, you left that 3 years ago, buddy. Leave it in Tampa. This is a whole new market.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't get it.
Okay. I have 2 things on the Boston Red Sox. One, the Boston Red Sox are acting like an organization that is in win-now mode, but they just let their superstar walk. They have let, at this point, their 4th superstar walk in the past couple of years. And now, when you sign a 38-year-old Justin Turner, who I think is still a very serviceable hitter and was still really good last year, and instead of JD Martinez, the guy that was here the entire time and could have filled the same slots that, Justin Turner will now fill with the team, it does not make a ton of sense to me. This team did not get any better. If anything, they flatlined. They're the exact same that they were last year or even got worse. I think that they'll probably get good offensive production out of Yoshida. I think he's going to be a solid big leaguer. I think Justin Turner is still going to be a good hitter in his 38, 39 season because he's translated well over the past couple of seasons. And, Kenley Jansen was still a solid reliever out of the bullpen for the Braves last year. Posted a 3.3 ERA. He was their closer for a long time. He's solid. Chris Martin, great reliever. These are all good moves, but when you look at what they subtracted, it's awful. And, the second thing that I have on the Boston Red Sox is that the Boston Red Sox and Red Sox fans everywhere are now preparing to watch their 5th superstar walk in the past couple of years. We saw Mookie Betts go. I gotta just switch that up. It's going to be their 4th. The Boston Red Sox and Red Sox fans everywhere are prepared to watch their 4th superstar walk in free agency this upcoming offseason, right? We saw Mookie Betts get traded to the LA Dodgers for pennies on the dollar. Not shit happened. In this offseason, we watched Xander Bogaerts and JD Martinez both leave and went out of town. Both now play for NL West teams and secured their bags. Although I know that Xander Bogaerts got a massive overpay, which we will tap on when we talk about the Padres, they needed to pay that guy. And now, what reason does Rafael Devers have to stay with this team? Why in God's name, if you're Rafael Devers and you just watch those other 3 guys walk because you wouldn't pay him, why would he want to stay in Boston? That makes no sense. There's no direction for this team whatsoever. Chaim Bloom does not know what he's doing. They have not put out a product that is even capable to even coming close to winning a division, nonetheless win a World Series. So why, if you're Rafael Devers, would you look at the landscape in front of you and say, yep, I want to play the rest of my career here because they know what they're doing? Because clearly, Boston and that organization does not know what the hell they're doing. They've let 3 guys walk in the past couple of years. It's going to be their 4th guy next offseason, and I feel so bad for Red Sox fans. I hate the Red Sox. I'm a Yankees fan, but this sucks. That is awful. To watch 4 guys in 5 years? That's awful, man. That sucks.
These are all MVP caliber guys too we're talking about here. I'm genuinely concerned. What is the direction? I did see he did an interview with the Red Sox writer. He said he wants to be better about it. Well, you haven't proven that you want to be better about it, but you did show with Garrett Whitlock signs of life of trying to lock people up on shorter deals at a better team value that's kind of not risky, but the player's getting paid. If Bayo and Cassis don't get that same treatment, I don't know the direction of this team for the next 10 years. I may never see a world. If that doesn't happen, I will probably most confidently say I may never see another World Series champion again in the Boston Red Sox because this guy has screwed this franchise for years to come right now. I mean, sure, say what you want about the prospects, say what you want about that, but say what you want. This guy, he's just so cheap. I don't understand it. And I'm ready to watch Evaldi sign somewhere else. Did Walker already sign?
He did not sign. No, he's still a free agent market. But still, I don't think he's coming back.
No, nobody saw what he did last year. Why does he not already have a deal? Why does Evaldi not already have a deal? These are guys you can get for cheap, and we're not doing it. I'm not understanding. These guys you're not paying $400 million for these guys. You're not paying $100 million for these guys. You can get them for shorter deals, and we're just not pulling the trigger. I'm just done. I'm done with Heim. I have no other way to defend him unless he starts building it how the Braves built it. But that's going to take 3 years, and I'm not sure this guy's got a year and a half left. I think he's on the hot seat, unless the Henrys are being that cheap. But I really don't think it's like that. This is a team that's got to win. Like that's what they've been known for.
No, I think he's at the door. I mean, if they don't have success next year or even the year after, I think in the next 2 years you could see him walk. Or at least get fired at that point, because I don't see what the direction is with that team at all. All right, let's move on. We got to talk about Chicago Cubs. I personally love what they did. Outside of one signing, I thought they did incredible here in this offseason. So, Chicago Cubs signed Dansby Swanson. You got that 7-year $177 that we just talked about just a couple days ago. They signed Jameson Taillon to a 4-year $72 million deal. And while this is a lot of money, I think that's actually a really good deal, and I'll dive into that in a little bit. They signed Cody Bellinger to a 1-year $17 million deal. Listen, I don't like Cody Bellinger. He's one of the worst hitters in baseball, and I still don't know why they gave him $17 million. But he's a good defender, and, there is hope that he can spark up with a new team and, reignite that flame that he had with the Dodgers in his MVP season. And they signed Brad Boxberger, who's a solid reliever for the Milwaukee Brewers for a very long time, which I think is a great move. And then on the other hand, they lost Wilson Contreras, which stinks, and I feel for my guy Brant because I know he loves Wilson Contreras, but he's with St. Louis now, and to be honest with you, I think it was a good play because there was no keeping that guy. If they were gonna keep him, they would have extended him or at least traded him at the trade deadline. So, but yeah. I personally really like what the Chicago Cubs did this offseason. How do you feel about this plan that they have here?
They've definitely improved. I mean, they had to improve. Like, this team kind of, same boat the Red Sox were in. Watch it all. Their core from the World Series just kind of diminish over the next couple years after. I mean, so I guess this is how Cubs fans felt, but I don't think the Taillon signing was bad. I mean, he definitely adds to that starting rotation. I mean, they needed something. The Stroman deal, you could say, was pretty big bust of a deal after his first year. I mean, what he pitched, 10 games. Guy was hurt. Guy wasn't what he was in New York the year before. I mean, of course, Dansby, like you said, put up one of his best years, if not the best year of his career. And honestly, I've been saying it, I think Bellinger just needed to leave LA. Like, I think you could see somewhat of MVP Belly come back this year. I really do. Maybe a hot take, maybe whatever, but come back to this video and either roast me or say, wow, this guy, he called it. I could see Cody Bellinger going back to MVP Belly this year. I just think new setting, I mean, new team. He's could kind of be the guy in Chicago now. I mean, you got Dansby, him. I mean, I could see those two becoming like these guys that we've never seen because they've had to elevate their level of play based on where they're at now.
Yeah, so I kind of took a shit on Dansby earlier when we were talking about the Atlanta Braves, and I basically said that he wasn't worth that money. But at the same token, I still think he's a really good addition for this team because he's a nice veteran presence. Apparently, he's a great leader in the Atlanta Braves clubhouse when he was there. And he's still going to be a solid player. He's still going to be one of the best defensive shortstops in the league. He's still going to put up a 110 to 115 OPS plus over the next 7 years. That's how much you have him locked down for. And he's going to be a solid piece of his core. And between him and Nico Horner, they're going to have one of the best middle infield defensive duos that you will see in this league, which is incredible. I think they are basing what they have right now on defense and pitching, especially, and it's very evident with this offseason. Jameson Taillon, I think, is one of the most underrated starters in the big leagues. He had a great year last year with the Yankees, really started off hot, was one of the best pitchers in the American League, kind of tailed off towards the end of the season. We saw him have a perfect game bet against the Angels. I was actually watching that game myself. That was a fucking blast. But this is a guy that put up a 3.6, 3.7 ERA. He's going to eat innings for you, and he's going to be solid for that team. Who am I looking at? Bellinger. The MVP thing I think is weird. I personally don't think that he will bounce back to that status. But hey, he plays great defense. He's going to play a great center field for them. And that's fine. It's fine. I don't expect him to be this incredible hitter that he once was. And then again, with Boxberger, I think that's just another great pitching addition that they have. So I am absolutely in love with what they did. I'm in love with it. I think they're going to be a much improved team in 2023, and they'll be able to challenge in a couple years.
Yeah, just keep building on what they've been doing. I mean, it's not like they spent a ton of money, but they did make the moves in the right direction they need to. Started to show fans they're looking to go back to that championship caliber team. So we'll see what happens with them.
Okay, so now I want to move on to a team that this is their last dance, in my opinion. This is their last dance, and I think that they kind of went all out this offseason, and I really, really thoroughly enjoy what they did. We're going to talk about the Los Angeles Angels. Obviously, the Los Angeles Angels every single year are a bust of a team because they have Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, but there is never anybody around them, and they consistently win 70 games, finish fourth in their division, and disappoint fans worldwide. But I'm a big fan of what they decided to do this offseason. They quietly traded for Jay Urshela as soon as everything started popping off, and Hunter Renfroe. Legit, as soon as free agency opened, they made those two deals, kind of went quiet for a little bit. And then after that, they signed Tyler Anderson to a 3-year, $39 million deal. And just yesterday, signed utility guy Brandon Drury to a 2-year, $17 million deal. At the same token, they lost Michael Lorenzen, but I don't think that is a huge loss for them. But with this offseason, man, I love this so much. And at this point, now that they have Gio Urshela, I think he moves to being their shortstop. We've seen him play shortstop with the Yankees. We've seen him play shortstop with the Minnesota Twins. He's a 120 WRC plus guy and one of the better defenders in baseball. One of the most underrated players in this league, and he will make a significant impact for this Angels roster. With Hunter Renfroe, one of the streakiest hitters I've ever seen, but he mashes the shit out of the ball. I know you've seen it a ton with the Boston Red Sox, and he did it last year in Milwaukee yet again, but he's another incredible bat to add to this Angels offense, and they're just going to get better. And with Tyler Anderson, he had a career year last year, and for getting him on 3-year, $39, and they locked him up early, and you can see what the rest of this market looked like after he signed. That is a steal of a deal, in my opinion. Like, for Jameson Taillon to get $18 million, that is not worth more than Tyler Anderson was worth. Like, if at that rate, I think Tyler Anderson's a $22 million a year player. Because he was way better than Jameson Taillon was last year, and he got $18 million, which is nuts, man. And with Drury's an interesting case because, last year he was a guy that was begging for an MLB spot. Signed a minor league deal with the Reds, ended up getting traded midseason because he was so damn good, played well with the Padres, played well in their postseason run, and now you get him for $8 million a year, which I think is perfect for that guy. I don't think it's an overpay whatsoever. He's going to play a multitude of different positions, and now that he's a third base guy, you could see Anthony Rendon's contract getting shipped off. Because even with Gio Urshela, he's mainly a third baseman. Now they have essentially 3 third basemen on their roster, and if they can get that putrid contract of Anthony Rendon's off their books, I think that would be best case scenario for them. So for them to have this team going into Shohei Ohtani's free agency year, I think it is gorgeous, and I think that they will be more successful than they were last year with this team. Talk to me about these Angels, man. I know I just went on a little bit of a tangent.
No, you're good. You're good. I mean, they needed to get Shohei and Trout some help. There's no reason these two aren't in October baseball. It's what the fans want to see. You don't have to be an Angels fan to say, hey, I want to see Shohei and Trout in the postseason. I want to see some crazy stuff happen. But they just fail to build around him every single year. Like you said, Urshela quietly has 120 WRC plus. Like, this guy just kind of flies on everybody's radar. He did it in New York too. He was so overhyping on Glaber the one year. Let's take a little look to your left who's playing third. Urshela was good. I mean, that's a good bat for them. Renfroe, you could get 48 bombs. You could get 300 strikeouts. You just got to figure out what month it is for this guy. I mean, he could hit 30 in a month. He could hit nothing in a month, not even get a hit in a month. But, I mean, guy's got a cannon. He had, 13 outfield assists in 21 or something crazy like that? I mean, helps Mike Trout out there in the outfield, gets Shohei and him some more help in the lineup. Tyler Anderson, like you said, that's another guy. If Patrick Sandoval can get how he was at the beginning of the year last year, start consistently being that way. I mean, his first 10 starts were great. He had below 2 ERA his first 10 starts, I believe. Somewhere around there, 2.25. I mean, you start putting little pieces here and there, make it worth Shohei and Trout's time. Long shot. Maybe you get Shohei to stay. Don't really know if that's going to happen. But if you do, then that's more enticing for other free agents next year. I mean, like you said, Drury, he just wanted a spot, and then he took the opportunity and ran with it, and now he's going to be a key guy for them. I mean, if Rendon, I don't think we'll ever see his MVP season again. I really don't. I think it's all downhill from here. But either get his contract off the books, or if he can just play 60% of what his MVP year was, it helps out that team. And they're adding the right pieces little by little. But to be honest, I still want to see something bigger if their plans are to pay Shohei.
Yeah, I mean, I think that division is going to be an absolute dogfight just because obviously you still have the world champion Houston Astros over there and the Texas Rangers, who we will talk about eventually, who have made some pretty significant moves this offseason. So for a year that you're going into potentially losing Shohei Ohtani, I think this is a pretty solid recipe for success.
Yeah.
I think they've built a nice core. And, when we look at this roster on opening day, it's going to be very different from last year because I think that there are genuinely solid pieces around those two superstars that we will see that will contribute on a day-to-day, And
it's kind of like, look, we'll show you what we can do, build around you if you do end up staying here. But we're not going to go all in right now when we may have to replace you, one of the best talents the game's ever seen. Like, just one of those things. I think it's small pieces, but they're kind of hinting at we can do more things if you just trust us.
Yeah. Okay, next team. We got to move to the other LA team. This offseason has been putrid for them. We're going to talk about the Los Angeles Dodgers. As far as signings, they signed Noah Syndergaard. They signed JD Martinez. And with Noah Syndergaard, I feel like, they put him in Mark Pryor's lab. I think he could cook a little bit. And even himself, he said that. Yes. He said that guys go to the Dodgers and they just turn into completely different pitchers. So I think that, there's a chance that we see a revelation of Syndergaard this year. And then JD Martinez, who still hits. We just talked about him and Justin Turner kind of swapping places, but he's still a guy that hits, and I think he's going to be a solid everyday DH for them. But as far as their losses, man, this list is extensive. They lost both of the Turners. Obviously, we just talked about Justin, but they also lost Trea. Trea Turner signed with the Philadelphia Phillies. We just talked about Tyler Anderson. Tyler Anderson now plays for the Los Angeles Angels. He left in free agency. They lost Cody Bellinger, who's another guy we just talked about, now plays for the Chicago Cubs. They lost Andrew Heaney, who had a complete revelation over there in LA last year after being one of the worst pitchers that I've ever seen in my life. They lost Joey Gallo, who now plays for the Minnesota Twins. Again, one of the worst hitters I've ever seen in my life. And they lost Tommy Kahnle, who, to my New York Yankees, and he is back in the Bronx now, which is awesome to see, but he was very good for them last year. So with these Los Angeles Dodgers, I know exactly what they're doing. It's so evident why they didn't sign a Judge, or why they didn't sign a Trea Turner, or why they didn't sign a Carlos Correa, or one of the big-name free agents this offseason. They have their sights on Shohei Ohtani in 2023. They want Shohei Ohtani. That's why they didn't spend any money whatsoever, because if you're looking at that kind of money, shelling it out to a Judge or a Trea Turner, they're not going to be able to do that and then go out and land Shohei Ohtani. So my biggest thing with this Los Angeles Dodgers team is that they are preparing for this upcoming offseason. They don't care how bad that they're going to be, because I don't think they run that NL West anymore. They want Shohei so bad, and I think they're going to pay him an absolute bag, because I do think he leaves the Angels, and that is my early prediction, is that he ends up on the other side of LA with the Dodgers.
I can see it. I don't think he stays.
No.
Either that, or Cohen just continues to grow money in the locker room and says, here's even more money. Let's make this a $1.5 billion payroll. Who cares?
I just think that, this Dodgers team did not make any improvements on what they did last year, and were not, obviously didn't even reach a World Series last year. They got knocked out in the divisional round. So for them to not improve whatsoever and get significantly worse this offseason only points to one thing, that they're going after the biggest fish that this free agent market has probably ever seen, until we see Juan Soto in 2 years. So I just think that that's their biggest play, and I don't think they run that division anymore. But once they get Shohei, it's going to be a completely different story.
Oh my, yeah. I mean, they've definitely made significant losses, but like you said, if significant losses this year mean one of the biggest free agents of all time, and then again, everybody forgets about this year and whatever happens to them this year. They could finish fifth in the NL West this year. If they sign Shohei, you'd never hear about it again.
Yeah. Okay. I don't really have too much on them just because I don't really
mean,
have a lot of analysis on Noah Syndergaard and JD Martinez and their losses. It's pretty much just like Shohei or bust. I think it's pretty evident. Right?
Yeah. Or somebody big and bust.
Yeah.
Him
All
or
right.
Soto in 2 years, I could say.
So we just talked about the LA teams. Now we're going to shift to the New York teams. We're not going to shift to the team that has the highest payroll in baseball by almost $200 million in the New York Mets. So just a quick synopsis of what they did this offseason. I'll go with their losses first because their additions are pretty significant. They lost Jacob deGrom, who when healthy is the best pitcher on the planet, but they did not feel comfortable matching that 37.5 for 5 years that he got from the Texas Rangers. They lost Taijuan Walker, who had a very solid start to his year last year and then kind of fell off a cliff. And then Chris Bassett, the guy that they traded for last year, was a solid 3-starter for them. Fucked up in the playoffs. That was funny. So those are their 3 really significant losses. But these ads are absolutely insane. Just this morning at 3 o'clock in the morning, they signed Carlos Correa from the San Francisco Giants. You could say he came from the Giants to the Mets. They signed Carlos Correa to a $315 million deal. They signed Justin Verlander, who's making the exact same money as Max Scherzer. They signed the Japanese import Kodai Senga. They brought in David Robertson from the Phillies. They signed Jose Quintana, who was with the Pirates and then went to the Cardinals with a fucking 2 ERA, and he's going to be their 5 guy, which is insane. They signed Omar Narvaez, who's like a defensive wizard. He's going to be their starting catcher every day. They re-signed Brandon Nimmo, and they re-signed Adam Ottavino. Now, this is unreal, the amount of money that this team is spending. I think it's like absolutely hilarious. I just think it's insane. Yeah. Good for Steve Cohen. Good for Steve Cohen. And my biggest thing with this Mets thing is him splurging all this goddamn money. This says to the rest of the owners in MLB, you need to spend. Because when we look at this payroll that the New York Mets have, their projected payroll is going to be $495 million. It is a $200 million increase than we looked at last year. And that $495 million payroll is less than the combined payrolls of the Oakland Athletics, the Milwaukee Brewers, Cleveland Guardians, Miami Marlins, Washington Nationals, Baltimore Orioles, Pittsburgh Pirates, Tampa Bay Rays, Cincinnati Reds, Kansas City Royals, and the Minnesota Twins, who they just nabbed Carlos Correa from.
You meant more than that.
What do you mean?
You said less than these combined.
No, it's less. It's
what do
less.
You mean it's less?
Like the payrolls of the $495 million that the Mets are shelling out, these 11 payrolls are less than that. Like they're less than 495.
Yeah, all combined. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so like it doesn't even match, and that's 11 teams. That is 11 teams combined payroll. So those are the 11 teams with the lowest payrolls in baseball. And Steve Cohen does not give a shit about your luxury tax. He is splurging any amounts of money. He does not care if this team does not win a World Series next year. The absolute blow up from the baseball world would be instrumental. I cannot wait until they don't win the World Series. I think it's going to be the funniest thing ever.
They're not going to, but yeah.
Because if you splurge at this point, because the Yankees now have a $295 million payroll. Now the Mets are up to $500 million. If you double a payroll from the second highest team in baseball and you don't win the World Series, sell the team. That is low Mets to the core. That just means the team is goddamn cursed. But what I will say, man, good for Steve Cohen. They're spending their money. They have a fucking super team. They might have the greatest infield of all time. I think that's like how great that infield is going to be next year. Yeah. And they're insane. Insane.
I mean, the only thing I could say is a little on the outrageous side was the Nimmo signing. I feel like that was a lot for Brandon Nimmo.
A lot of money.
But then again, we'll get into it more with the next team we're going to talk about. That's the loyalty part of it. I mean, Brandon Nimmo wanted to be there. They said, all right, here's what you get for wanting to be with us when we want you. It's it's like a respect thing. But like you said, this team is unreal. I mean, we got teams that are in the big markets that are worried about luxury tax, and Cohen said, just take your luxury tax and shove it up your ass. Like, they're 111 million over luxury tax, and guys, I wouldn't be surprised if he spent some more money just to do it. Just to say, here's more money. I mean, let's just keep it going. You know, the first 4 guys in the lineup, I saw some today, all their contracts before they get to Pete Alonso are almost $1 billion. Just to the first, I think it was 3 or 4. I couldn't remember how many. Almost $1 billion before you even get down to the lineup into Pete Alonso in the 4 or 5 hole. It's ridiculous. But like you said, it shows teams go out and spend and give the fans what they want. Because those 11 teams that you named, there's no reason those fans should. I mean, I don't care. I saw a video the other day. These guys are billionaires. These teams have the money. You're not just a professional team without money. Like, it's not how this works. Like, if you don't want to make money, or you don't want to make a good team and spend some money, sell the teams. I mean, and Cohen is doing a great job with the Mets. I mean, say he's overspending, whatever, but the fans are happy. There isn't one Met fan out there that's like, dang, we just spent this much money. Why did we do that? Nobody cares. They just got Carlos Correa, arguably a top 3 shortstop in the league. Justin Verlander just come off of Cy Young. Yeah, he's old, but they did it with Max Scherzer too. You're not going to be mad if your team signs Verlander or Scherzer. I mean, they got this dude from, I mean, I don't want to speak anything on the Japan people because I saw it with Masahiro Tanaka. Guy was a stud over there, came over here. He had a couple good times, you could say, but why is he not still playing pro ball? It's just, the people from over in Japan are a little bit scary. But, I mean, if he pans out, he is good. Cohen just showed teams what it's like to do what you can with your money.
So Tanaka stopped playing because he threw a splitter so much. And when you play in Japan, the ball size is different. The ball is smaller, so it's easier to grip that splitter. And then when you come over, he had like severe like shoulder issues. So that's like why a lot of those like Japanese pitchers like have like such short lifespans, is because they throw a splitter so much and the ball changes. Yeah, man. I mean, they're that first, 3 that you mentioned before they had Pete Alonso, and they still have to pay Pete Alonso. They're gonna have to pay him. He's still in his fucking arm years. And they will. Yeah, between Lindor, Correa, and fucking Nimmo, like $800 million is absurd. Like, it's just straight guaranteed money. Like, what the hell, man? And one other thing that I do want to point out before we move on to the Yankees is, with Correa now, the Mets now are projected the most F4 in baseball. They're projected a team total of 53.4 F4. But the most interesting thing that I find with this list is that they are first, but it's by 0.2 points. That's it. With a $500 million payroll, it's by 0.2 points. After that, you have the Yankees at 53.2. You have the Padres at 52.5. The Braves at 50.6. The Rays at 50.1. The Blue Jays at 48.4. And the Astros at 48.3. So I just think it's incredibly interesting that they've spent all this money. And yes, they should have the best projected WAR in baseball because of what that lineup is and how much money they have. But it's just funny that it's only by 2 points, by 0.2 points. Like, that's it. I think that's nuts. Like, I don't know. That division's going to be a dogfight. It's a dogfight, man.
Between them and the Braves.
Nope. Not Atlanta. I think Atlanta's caked.
Really?
I think Atlanta's caked, bro. No, and we'll talk about the Phillies, man. But, like, I think Atlanta's caked.
You got Philadelphia.
Dude, I think they're caked, man.
Completely forgot about Philadelphia.
We got to talk about my Janks, man. We got to talk about my Janks. Because the Yankees have done some very significant things this offseason. But at the same token, they have done some things that I really don't enjoy. So the Yankees obviously brought back Aaron Judge on the 9-year, $360 million deal and named him the 16th captain in Yankees history this morning.
So.
Round of applause for Aaron Judge. I was watching it this morning in bed and almost cried. I almost teared up. It was incredible. Him and Jeter took a picture together. It was so sweet, man. I fucking love it. The Yankees went out and made a move that I never, ever saw coming, and Hal Steinbrenner finally decided to spend money. They brought in Carlos Rodon, who is probably an ace on any other staff other than, the Marlins or like the Mets, because there's Sandy and Verlander and fucking DeGrom, right? So there's like 3 or 4 teams that he would be the ace on. He becomes this number 2 in this Yankees rotation that was already elite, and they just added a top 10 pitcher in baseball. That is, in my opinion, I think it's the best rotation in baseball. You can have the debate with the Mets, but I think it's very close, and I think the Yankees edge it. The Yankees, at the same time, also brought back Anthony Rizzo. The Anthony Rizzo re-signing was actually the first move, like, post-arbitration agreements, or the qualifying offer agreements, which was really cool. And they brought back in Tommy Kahnle, who spent 2 years away from the team. He was with the Dodgers. We talked about him a little bit earlier, but he's not just a solid bullpen arm. At the same token, the Yankees lost Andrew Benintendi, who's a player that I was very high on last podcast when we talked about him. He signed with the Chicago White Sox. They lost the man That is on my shirt. And my mustache brother, Matt Carpenter, he got his bag. I'm happy for him because I don't think the Yankees, like, there wasn't a shot in shit they were paying him $12 million a year because I don't think he's worth that money anyway. Love Carp. I love you, man. But, like, come on, dude. It's not worth that money.
Let's be real.
And they lost Jameson Taillon, who we just talked about with the Chicago Cubs. So I can't say I love what the Yankees did this offseason. I really enjoy it.
Lose Taillon, you get Rodon. Like,
the pitching staff.
Are you complaining? No.
No, listen. Hear me out here. I love the fact that they added Rodon, and I think that rotation is going to be incredible. It's going to be one of the best in baseball. What was the biggest problem for the Yankees last year?
The offense was streaky.
The biggest problem with the Yankees last year was the offense.
Outside of Aaron Judge. Let's put an asterisk there. Yeah. Outside of Aaron Judge.
Right. But in the playoffs. Okay,
whatever. But I'm saying outside of Aaron Judge, they got him to the playoffs.
Sure. Yeah, true.
The offense was streaky.
You're building your roster for the playoffs at the end of the day. When I look at what this Yankees team did last year in the playoffs, they could not hit in the playoffs to save their goddamn lives. What kind of bats did they bring in this offseason? None whatsoever. I think that the rotation is still going to be great. But if you don't add a bat and you essentially lose two of them with Benintendi and Carpenter, even though Benintendi and Carpenter didn't really play big roles down the stretch, you're not beating the Astros. Your ultimate goal is to get past Houston, and if you don't have bats, you're not getting past Houston.
No.
Houston didn't lose bats. Houston lost Verlander. They didn't lose bats.
19 guys.
Correct. So they're going to continue to mash and mash and mash. And I get it. Our pitching rotation is incredible. But they will win 2-1 ball games against the New York Yankees because the Yankees will get to that moment and will not be able to hit. I preached on Andrew Benintendi being the biggest factor for this Yankees team coming into the offseason. They let him walk. The Yankees have yet to make a decision on who they're going to put in left field. They still have Josh Donaldson as their third baseman. And as it currently lines up, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is still their shortstop. Brett Gardner should be the starting left fielder for the Yankees. But Brian Cashman said today that Aaron Hicks is going to be the starting left fielder, which is really cool. So, I really like the Rodon thing. And obviously bring back Judge and Rizzo's shoes, but those aren't pieces that you're adding. You're re-adding them because you already had them last season. So I think the Yankees needed to prioritize offense this offseason, and they didn't do it whatsoever. And that's why I'm very, off and on with what they did. Very off and on. Love Rodon. Don't love the fact that they didn't make any offensive adjustments.
Well, I'm going to first ask you, how does it feel that your team stayed loyal?
You know what, man? And, I'll be honest with you, dude. Never saw it coming. Never saw it coming.
No, I know you didn't. But
never saw it coming.
How does it feel to feel loyalty? That's what I want to know.
Because
I don't know what that feels like.
Coming. I never saw the Yankees signing Carlos Rodon. I knew they were going to re-sign Judge. If they didn't re-sign Judge, the franchise is going to be cooked for the next 10 years, right? Yeah. But they signed Carlos Rodon. That's the coolest shit ever.
That's what I'm saying. And
they didn't even need him. They didn't need Carlos Rodon. At the end of the day, they did not need Carlos Rodon. I think that is a luxury that the Yankees decided they're able to afford now.
And that's what I'm going to say. I'm not envious of Yankee fans. I never will be because screw them. I hate the Yankees, whatever. But I kind of want to know what it feels like right now. I'm missing it right now.
I feel great.
I really don't get it.
I feel great.
Like I said, would I want, let's just say, Judge wasn't on the Yankees and the Red Sox were the Giants in this case. I wouldn't want the Red Sox taking on that contract. I've said it before. He's going to be 31 this year. The only team that needed to pay this man what he wanted was the team that he wanted to be with, the team that he came up with, the team that he has become a legend on, the New York Yankees. And rightfully, they gave him a call. He said he wanted to be Yankee, so they threw $40 million on his contract. That's what you do to players that are of his caliber and have done what they have done for your franchise. Please take notes, Heim. We're going to get to it, talking about overpaying Xander. The same thing that happened to Judge should have happened to Xander in Boston. Call it an overpay, but that's what you do for guys that you believe can take the team to a championship level. And that's why Judge got his money, because the Yankees sincerely believed in this guy, and they named him captain. I mean, it doesn't really mean anything, but at the end of the day, it does mean something. And the Red Sox do the same thing. The last player to wear the C was Jason Varitek. Xander Bogaerts should have had the same exact treatment as Aaron Judge. And good for Yankee fans. I don't ever say that, but good for Yankee fans. I'm glad you guys didn't get screwed over because it honestly sucks. Like, it sucks. Do I think that contract is worth it for any other team? Absolutely not. I've said that before, and I'm not just saying that. I mean, if anything, say what you want because he's in the AL East, but Stanton's the one that tears the Red Sox up. I don't care about Judge. But they showed the guy loyalty. That's why I think the Yankees had such a good offseason. Don't get me wrong. They didn't add any other bats. They do live and die by the long ball. First time I ever talked to you, that's what I said. We had a little debate. I said the reason the Yankees offense is not good is because they live and die by the long ball. Well, last year it worked to an extent. They got to the playoffs. You don't live and die by the long ball. And even when you do, you still got to get guys on in front of you against good pitching. You got to have guys like Benintendi that you wanted. But then again, the Yankee fans, they were content with Judge, so they were like, fine, let's surprise him. Here's Rodon for you too. We lose Tyon, let's upgrade. Like, let's spend money like we know how to spend. I just don't get it, man. I wish, like, I'm happy for you guys. I really am.
Thank you.
Because at this point, what is there not to be like? I can't be mad. Like, yeah, man, that just sucks. Like, if you didn't spend that money, like, it'd be awesome to see Yankee fans upset, but like, it sucks. So good for Yankee fans. Glad they were loyal. Glad they paid the guy they were supposed to, and now he's the captain. And this team is gonna win the AL East by probably 10 games or more. I really believe that.
It feels so good to hear that coming from you. You have no idea how much that just. My heart is bursting out of my chest, man. Thank you so much.
I got nothing else to say. I can't. I mean, I'm preparing for 5th place. I mean, I know how the Red Sox are, but the Yankees did what they had to do. They signed a key. I'm surprised Rizzo took a qualifying offer. I believe that's what he did, right?
No, he didn't take the QO.
He didn't take the QO?
No, he
just re-signed?
He declined. The QO is 19. He declined, and then he got 18 a year. He got 18 a year for 2 years.
Gotcha. Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember we were talking about
so it was legit like the first signing. It was like right after the period.
You can say they stayed the same, but they also showed the loyalty to the rest of the people coming up behind these guys and to these guys. And now you got leaders that realize, hey, these guys want me in this clubhouse, and let's go show them why they want us here. And now when this team is back destroying every other team in the AL East, I'm going to say, well, that's what happens when you show loyalty, when you spend the money where it's supposed to be spent, and when contracts that are meant for you are handed to you, you write the check. Like, it was meant for the Yankees. Write the check, and then you go add Rodon. This team got better. I'm not gonna say this. I'm not gonna say they didn't get better. The offense is still a little scary, especially because I feel, like I said before, this is Judge. That was Judge's peak. If he hits over 62 home runs, I don't know. I'll do something crazy, whatever. But like, we can figure that out later. But I don't see him get hitting. 55's a stretch. Let's be real. 50's a stretch. But if he puts up 40 a year, no one's complaining. His contract's well worth it. He's so big. If he stays under control, he's still going to hit bombs. Like, it's a good offseason for him. I hate saying that, but I got nothing else to say. I don't even want to argue, because then guess what? The Red Sox can go out on the field. They're going to sport the team they got now, and we're going to put up 2 runs a game and give up 12. And I'm going to say, hey, that's what happens when you don't spend money. So
yeah, you're praying that Aaron Judge is 80% of the player he was last year, because I don't expect him to come out
70.
I don't expect him to come out and hit 60 home runs and have 130 RBIs again. You're projecting him to be 85% of that player for the rest of the contract, because he's still going to be able to hit, and that's fine, and he's fully deserving of that money. And like you said, this is the only team that was going to pay him. I have 2 more notes that I do want to tap on this team before we move on to the next.
Yeah, same. I got another thing too, but go ahead.
Okay. Matt Carpenter, I just want to, give my final goodbye. Carpenter, I will miss you forever. You started the mustache trend. I would continuously shave off my beard every 3 months when, the team was in a rough spurt, and we would rock the mustache, and you hit a ton of piss missiles, and you were the best unqualified hitter in the league this year with a 214 WRC plus and the 15 home runs you hit. Matt Carpenter, I would like to say goodbye. I will love you forever. You will always be one of my favorites, and I hope you have an absolute blast in San Diego. And now with the San Diego Padres, having both Matt Carpenter and Xander Bogaerts, me and Lane would like to announce that we are part Padres fans this upcoming offseason because both of our favorite players play for the San Diego Padres. So we will be rooting for you, Carp, and I miss you, and I'm even wearing you on my fucking shirt right now. I miss you so much, buddy. I hope you retire with us or something.
Yeah,
that'd be so cool.
You're in the closet, but I still do love you.
Listen, Carp, I dressed up as you for Halloween, man. That is the coolest shit
And he reached out. He reached out.
That is the coolest shit. Carp, you responded to my tweet. That was the nicest thing ever. You didn't have to do that at all. That was the nicest thing ever. I love this guy, man. What a great guy.
And the Padres have a friend of mine. He commented on my my TikTok back in
March.
Mr.
Hader.
Josh Hader.
Mr. Hader.
We are Padres fans.
I completely forgot about that.
The podcast is a Padres fan. We'll put it that way.
Love me some Soto, obviously.
It's a fun team.
Love me some Manny Machado. He's sick. Tatis when he doesn't have wrist things. So yeah, go Padres. I got some Padres gear too. I got a Luke Voit Padres jersey.
And let me ask you this before we get off the topic of the Yankees.
Go ahead.
If his max he gives you the next 9 years, if he hits 35 bombs a year, 80 RBIs, are you mad at the contract?
No, not at all.
That's what I'm saying. He's already done enough to make that contract work.
Yeah, but he's also still going to play great defense in right field. So it's not like he's going to be I think he plays great defense for the next 5 years.
I think it's 3.
I think it's 5 years.
3 before.
I think 5 years. I think 5 years. He's still going to have that cannon, bro. He can't move.
He is.
He can't move like the rest of them, but he's got a cannon.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
I think he's going to be worth it.
Back on my point of if you get, like you said, 80% out of him. If you get 30 home runs out of him and 80 RBIs, nobody's mad about his contract.
No.
And that's something a guy's going to consistently put up. He is arguably top 5.
You get 30 home runs a year from a guy who's fucking complaining.
Yeah. But
Nobody's
I'm saying,
complaining.
But everybody's got him as this 55 home run guy or more. That's not the reality of it, folks.
Yeah, but for any hitter,
yeah, I mean, 30, yeah.
So to put that in perspective, if he hits 30 home runs over the next 9 years, right? That's what you said, the entirety of the contract. Yeah, that's 270 home runs.
Yeah,
that is historic pace levels. So if anybody's
true.
ever going to complain about that, then you got to go see a doctor. Yeah. You got to go see a doctor.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's if you get half the production you did from this year, the guy's still putting up great numbers.
Yeah. He's going to be great, man. I'm not worried
now,
about
I wouldn't risk it with another team, but like I said, good for the Yankees. Good for you guys. Congratulations to you guys. Last time we'll ever say this. I can't wait to watch you guys get beat in the LDS by the Astros still. But I'm glad you guys are feeling good right now because I feel nothing but pain.
All right. Okay, let's move on. We've talked about these Janks enough. We got to talk about the Phillies.
I'm tired of talking about them. Screw them.
We got to talk about the Phillies, who are going to make a goddamn run in the NL East, and I will prove it. So let's talk about the Phillies, man. Obviously, coming off of the World Series run, they were incredible last year. They made that crazy run. And what did they do? They got better. They added the guy who you think is the best shortstop in baseball. I still think it's
all around
Tatis Jr. But Trea Turner is a Philadelphia.
Turner's on the field. He's on the field. That's why he's better.
All right, man. Enough. We're not starting this. Let me go through the synopsis, okay? Jesus.
Okay, then we'll go at it.
Trea Turner's a Philadelphia Philly. Great signing. I was, putting Correa on that team, but Turner, I think, is even better. Just because I didn't think there was a shot. I didn't think there was a shot in shit. No. And they got Trea Turner. That's sick, man. They signed Taijuan Walker, who's a solid starter. He's been a solid starter with the Mets for a long time. He's at the Blue Jays, too. And they signed Matt Strom from your Boston Red Sox. But at the same time, they lost Zach Eflin, who was solid for them in the bullpen down the stretch, but he got overpaid. Noah Syndergaard wasn't awesome. They traded for him at the trade deadline. He, ate some innings in the playoffs, whatever. David Robertson, who was actually pretty shaky for them in the playoffs. He was shaky for them in the playoffs, but down the back half, he was great.
Yeah, he was good.
Down the back half, he was awesome. Gene Segura went because they brought in Trea Turner. And then Corey Knebel, who's actually a solid bullpenner for them. He still is without a contract. So, these Phillies, man. Here's my scolding hot take for you. The Atlanta Braves are the third-place team in this division. They are the third-place team in this division. Because for me to look at a team like the Philadelphia Phillies, you just went to a World Series and then you added a top 10 player in baseball. You're better than the Braves. The Braves just watched Dansby Swanson walk, and obviously nobody's better than the fucking New York Mets because of the sheer amount of money that they have and the talent that's on that roster. The Phillies are going to be in a dogfight with the New York Mets, and what I will say to you right now is if maybe Nick Castellanos starts kicking a little bit next year, maybe he starts hitting a little bit more. When I match up these two lineups, when we're talking about the New York Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies, I'm taking the Phillies lineup. I think the Phillies have a better lineup.
Oh, you'd be dumb not
than
to.
the New York Mets do. Right, but then at the same token, the Mets have the way superior rotation with the 5 crazy arms that they have. But I just think the Atlanta Braves are a third-place team in that division, and this is a 2-horse race now in the NL East, seeing Dansby Swanson walk between the Philadelphia Phillies and the New York Mets. And I think there is a surreal chance that the Phillies come out on top here. I think that's how good they are.
To be honest, when we were thinking about the NL East before, Phillies just weren't in my mind. All I had was we were talking about Mets and Braves so close together, so that's all I could think of. But yeah, I don't think you're wrong by saying they could easily win this division. I mean, it's going to be a fight, but I think they could still win it by a couple games, to be honest with you. But I think you're counting the Braves out way too much at the same time. This is the Atlanta Braves we're talking about, who started pretty terribly last year. I mean, they were pretty pitiful last year, and they came soaring back. And then again, they did lose to this Phillies team you were speaking of, who did get better, but then again, I'm not counting the Braves out at the same time. I think these 3 teams, this might be the most fun division of baseball to watch next year. Matter of fact, it will be because, like we said before, the Dodgers got worse. So the NL West, the Giants aren't what they were. This is easily probably the most fun division, going to be the most fun division to watch in the entire league. So, yeah, Turner's definitely an upgrade because he can play the outfield too, which Lord knows they need some help in the outfield as well. I mean, this team was crazy down the stretch. They had some problems early on, but this is one of those teams, if you let them get hot at the wrong time, you're screwed. I mean, but then again, they can also be shut down, as we saw after one of the best offensive performances. They quickly got cold. But then again, look how long they were hot for. So it's all just, I mean, this team is ridiculous. Let's put it that way. I mean, them and the Mets are quite ridiculous with what they have done and spent in the past couple of years, although the Mets are significantly more. But I like the Phillies a lot. I mean, the Phillies are one of those NL teams that I have thoroughly enjoyed watching and can say that I've rooted for to go places when the Sox are no longer playing baseball.
Yeah, so with the Phillies, like you mentioned, their offense kind of shut down, but you had a guy like Trea Turner who's a consistent 300 hitter. He's a 300 for life hitter.
He won't let it shut down.
And he won't let that offense shut down. He's going to be at the top of that lineup no matter what. It's going to be him or Schwarber with 1 and 2. So he's not going to let that happen whatsoever. And I just think that offense at this point is now, all gas, no brakes. And I think that they're just going to master the National League next year, and they will put up a real competition with the Mets and the Padres next year. I think it's going to be a dogfight.
Spending his money.
Is cooking again, spending money. He's cooking.
And Taijuan Walker, that's not a bad deal.
Not terrible.
If he stays solid, he did fall off a little bit last year, but I mean, who didn't know Eflin was out of their bullpen last year, wasn't he?
I mean, yeah. I mean, he got an identical deal to Jameson Taillon. They got the exact same money, and I think that makes sense.
And Strom, I mean, he could be good, could be bad, depending on what day it is. I mean, I've seen some shaky appearances out of him, but overall, it's not like he's that bad. I mean, not like it's hurting you to sign him. I mean, especially when you're spending money, who cares?
Right.
But I'm excited for the NL East.
Phillies, I'm pumped. I'm pumped. Good job, man. Phillies. All right, we're going to talk about our team. Now we get to talk about our favorite team, the San Diego Padres, who made some huge upgrades, but then at the same time also made some losses. They obviously made the NLCS next year, and their roster construction is very odd coming into this year because they now have like 5 fucking shortstop on the roster. But we're going to see how this plays out. So obviously they signed the aforementioned Xander Bogaerts and Matt Carpenter. They just signed Matt Carpenter yesterday, so I was in tears yesterday. They re-signed Robert Suarez and they re-signed Martinez. But at the same token, they lost Josh Bell, who came over in the Juan Soto trade. They lost Brandon Drew, who they traded for at the trade deadline. They lost Jurickson Profar, who is still on the free agent market. We're not sure where he's going to sign, but I would honestly place him back on that roster. I think he's a solid fit over there. And then they lost Will Myers, who hasn't done shit for them in the past 5 years. He's legitimately terrible. So with the San Diego Padres, like I mentioned, they have a shit ton of shortstops on their roster. They obviously have Fernando Tatis Jr. Manny Machado could play shortstop, but he's obviously going to play third base. They have Xander Bogaerts, they have Ha-Seong Kim, and they have Jake Cronenworth, who is probably going to move over to first base and allow one of those guys to move over to second. I would assume it'd be Kim to start the season. This team is fucking electric. Like, the fact that you can now field a lineup of, Tatis with Machado and with Xander and with Cronenworth and now with Matt Carpenter, like, this team is nuts. And, the only thing that I dislike about this offseason from the San Diego Padres is the money that Matt Carpenter got. Matt Carpenter's not worth $12 million a year. Like, what Matt Carpenter did with the Yankees was incredible, and it was magical. But I don't think there was another team giving him $12 million. Maybe the Mets. But the Yankees weren't. That's why they didn't re-sign him, because I don't think that, reminder, before he played for the Yankees, he was a minor league player. His last year with the Cardinals, he was downright dreadful. So I think that this Matt Carpenter deal, although I love the guy, I think it has the potential to be a really bad fucking deal, because it's $24 million over 2 years, and him being worth $12 million, I just don't think it's going to age well. And he played well in that stadium too, which is another thing. So San Diego's a lot different. Like, that park factor is crazy. So I don't know. We'll see.
But I mean, this team, they were landing somebody big. I mean, you throw $400 million at Judge and miss. You throw 3-something at Trea Turner, you miss. What's up with them going after shortstops? I don't know. I wish they wouldn't, because then that means Bogaerts would not have gone there, and we might have had a chance. But good for him. He got paid. And the only thing you can argue that was too long on that contract, based on how the market's gone, is the length on it. I don't care. He's worth the money. This guy's consistently hit 300 for these guys. He's going to bang you 35 doubles. He's going to drive in close to 100. Like, this guy is a consistent hitter. Maybe the defense isn't what it's all up to be or what it's supposed to be. They'll find a spot for him eventually. He got paid. I don't think he's going to care about where he plays now. I think that was more of a, knock to the Red Sox when he said he wasn't playing second base. I think it was more of, you guys aren't showing me loyalty. Screw you guys. I'm going to showcase what I can as a shortstop for this upcoming offseason. Good for him. He got paid. And he's going to be a big bat to add in with those guys, like you said. And if they do re-sign Juan Soto, this team could be good for a long time. I mean, if Fernando Tatis can get healthy, stay healthy, stop doing all the dumb stuff outside of baseball and be in this lineup, this could be a fun team for a while. And, I mean, they got Darvish on the mound. They got Musgrove on the mound. You got Hader in the bullpen, like you were saying. If they could keep these pieces there for the next 4 or 5 years, we could see a World Series run out of this team very easily. I mean, the offense alone is going to take them places.
Yeah, and, this is a team last year that got to the NLCS without a Tatis and without a Xander Bogaerts.
Yeah.
So I think that
get both those guys.
Even if they lose Jurickson this offseason, who was essentially ended up being their leadoff hitter down the stretch, there you go, Xander. That's your spot. He just fits in perfectly, and even when they get Tatis back. So it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening with Tatis, if he gets traded or not. I know there's been some stuff in the winds. I don't think he ends up getting traded.
He just committed too much to him.
But, and even with, where everybody's going to fit, obviously he can now play in the outfield now, so you could see him playing in left field or somewhere else, and you end up having an infield of Machado and Bogaerts and Kim, who is an incredible defender and was great for them down the stretch last year. And now you get to move Cronenworth to first base, so.
And another thing I've been thinking about, maybe they sign another shortstop. They make Tatis go to the outfield. He's been known for his arm troubles, his arm issues. Maybe it's just less opportunity for other arm troubles to spark by throwing him in the outfield, maybe even DHing him down the road.
I think he would be good at second.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, maybe they're looking at a bigger picture, avoiding injury at all costs with a guy who's a generational talent and one of the best bats in the league when he's healthy.
Yeah,
so,
very true.
I mean, this team they were throwing money left and right, kind of how the Mets were, but except they just finally hit on one guy. They were getting somebody, regardless if it was Judge, Turner, Bogaerts, Correa. Somebody was going to the Padres.
Yeah.
Honestly, Bogaerts is one of the more consistent bats that were on the market. If not, a top 3 consistent bat that was on the market.
And now I think we look at the NL West, and like I mentioned earlier, this is the Padres division to run.
Yeah.
I think the Dodgers, because because of the losses that they had in the offseason this year, their lack of signings, and now what the Padres have been able to do over really the past year and a half, obviously bringing in Soto, and now we're talking about Bogaerts and all the bats that they brought in, and they still have an incredible pitching staff. The Dodgers have only gotten worse. So I think that for the 2023 season, this is the Padres division to lose, because we're going to talk about the Giants next, but there is no significant player outside of the Dodgers here that could really take down the Padres. And they were a team that just went to the NLCS. This is their division to lose, 100%.
Buddy, the Diamondbacks exist. Let's be real.
Are you kidding me right now? All right, man. I would like to move on to the San Francisco Giants. My heart pours out.
Check on your Giant fans.
For the fans of the San Francisco Giants. I am so sorry for the pain and misery that you guys have had to go through over the past 5 or 6 years. And even this morning with Carlos Correa having a medical issue and deciding not to sign with the San Francisco Giants. For their additions, they obviously added Sean Manaea, Ross Stripling, and Mitch Haniger, who, are solid additions, but for a team that does not have a franchise player or superstar on this roster whatsoever and is an absolute wasteland of a team, this is not going to cut it. And for a team like the San Francisco Giants, who have so much money in the bank that they could spend, and they have not used a single dime towards a superstar whatsoever. So, an interesting thing that I decided to put that out there on the internet this morning is a couple, free agent / trade targets that the San Francisco Giants have missed out on over the past 5 or 6 years. So let's go down the list. The first one is Aaron Judge. This offseason, obviously, he was teetering back and forth between them and the Yankees. He ended up signing back with the Yankees. Giancarlo Stanton, before he got traded to the Yankees, was on his way to San Francisco. He said no, ended up getting traded to the Yankees. Bryce Harper, via free agency, did not end up signing with the Giants. He ended up signing with the Philadelphia Phillies. Carlos Correa, just this morning, had the failed physical and then decided to move on and sign with the New York Mets. Dansby Swanson was a free agent target this offseason for this team. Did not happen. Carlos Rodon and Kevin Gausman. Carlos Rodon played for the Giants last year, did not want to re-sign, ended up signing with the New York Yankees. And then Kevin Gausman last offseason played for the San Francisco Giants, decided to sign with the Toronto Blue Jays after a career year. Trea Turner and Max Scherzer both hit free agency in separate years, but both could have had the opportunity to get traded. 2021, the Giants won 106 games, and they were trade targets for that team at the trade deadline. They did not get traded there, nor did they sign with them in free agency. Obviously, Scherzer signed with the Mets, and Turner signed with the Phillies. And then Kodai Senga, the Japanese import that we've spoke of a couple times on the show, did not decide to sign with the Giants. Instead, he signed with the Mets. When the actual fuck is this team going to get a fish? When are they going to get a fish? When is it going to happen? I think that is unreal. And mind you, there's other moves that they haven't made. There's other guys that they've missed out on. And this list of like 15 guys that I just went through, none of them wanted to play in San Francisco. What? I think this is insane.
Dude. I mean, not even the fact the last month for this fan base. First, you get a tweet at the winter meeting saying the judge is in agreement, and then 7 minutes later, they were never in contact. It was always the Yankees, whatever. And then you get a Carlos Correa, you get an MLB notification that he's signing with them. Then you wake up this morning and sorry, Giants fans, he's a New York Met. Like, I thought the Red Sox were having a brutal offseason, but you guys got 2 confirmations that you got 2 big superstars just to watch them not even come close to come to San Francisco. Didn't even touch down in San Francisco.
Nope.
I mean, I'm upset about losing Bogaerts, but at least it wasn't, the Red Sox have signed Xander Bogaerts. No, never mind, he's a Padre, just kidding. Like, that sucks. Like, you thought you had your guy with Aaron Judge. 7 minutes later, you didn't have your guy with Aaron Judge. You thought you had your guy with Carlos Correa. A week later, you don't have your guy in Carlos Correa. Now you got nobody. You got Haniger and Manaea and Stripling. I mean, that's not enough to cut it. You're not competing for this division. You may not even compete for second place.
Yeah, those signings are good for a team that already has like a team ready. Like if the Yankees or the Mets or the Dodgers signed those 3, it'd be like, oh, cool. Like they added other pieces around their superstars. Yeah. But like, what are you looking at here? Brandon Crawford at 37. Yeah, like Steve stinks, man.
Mike Yastrzemski.
But that's what I was saying, dude. It's what I said on the last episode that we had. I said I never understood the Giants thing. The Giants are not good. They won 81 games last year, and at that point, I thought they were lucky to win 81 games. And they just lost their best player. They just lost Carlos Rodon. So how does this team get better? How does this team get better? They don't. You know, they weren't good to begin with, and now you didn't add anything at all. I would be furious if I was a Giants fan. Furious. This is unbelievable how bad this free agency's been for them.
Yeah.
How do you do that twice?
Yeah, it's just the fact of seeing those notifications, the excitement you get, and then just to realize that's not happening there, big guy. You almost had him.
That's unreal,
Gotta be quicker than that.
That's unreal. All right, man. They're the laughing stock of the league. I think they're so funny. Like, it's not the Mets, it's them now.
Yeah, I mean,
because you're a shell of yourself.
That made me feel so much better being a Red Sox fan.
How did the greatest hitter of all time play there for X amount of years, and now not a single hitter wants to play there?
Nope.
That makes no sense. They didn't move the fences or anything. It's the same goddamn dimensions. Like, what?
I don't get it, man.
Oh, man, I will never understand it. All right, we have two more teams left that we have to cover. This has been a long one. We got to talk about the Texas Rangers, who, huge fan of what they did. Yeah. My God, they are going to be good in a couple years. So they signed Jacob deGrom away from the New York Mets. Obviously, he's the greatest pitcher on the field when he pitches. There's obviously still concerns about his health, and there are every single goddamn year. They signed Andrew Heaney, who, like I mentioned before, was one of the worst pitchers I had ever seen in my life throw a baseball. He goes out, he hangs out with Mark Pryor for a year, turns into an elite guy. Now he plays for the Texas Rangers. He fills out that rotation. And Martin Perez came back with the QO for $19 million. He was an all-star last year. He was awesome. They didn't really have any significant losses, which is great. So this is a team that, Chris Young and this organization have financially spent the money. They have spent the money. They signed the shortstop second base duo of Marcus Semien and Corey Seager last year, which was sick. Now they're attacking the pitching. And like we talked about on the last episode, they have their two young guys who are going to come up and fill out that rotation. And, with deGrom now going to headline your rotation. And they signed John Gray last year, who wasn't great, but he's still a piece. Now you have Andrew Heaney, you have Martin Perez. So I think they're moving in the right direction, and I think that they will be more competitive than they were last year. I think they won about 70 games last year. I'm not 100% sure, but they will. They're going to be better. I feel the same way with them as I feel about the Angels. They're not going to be better than Houston, but they're going to make improvements this year with this offseason. I thought they did what they could have this year, and I'm a big fan, man. Huge fan.
Yeah. I mean, you don't see how you get any worse when you really don't lose anybody.
No.
I mean, and you add the best pitcher on the planet as long as he stays healthy. So, yeah, this team, like I said, the other one, I think if they did get deGrom, which they did in 3 years, if Leiter and Kumar are ready, now you have Jacob deGrom there to mentor these next two guys who have already been to prestigious places. They've seen, you've seen what they can do. I mean, Leiter's dad, what did he do for his time in the bigs? He wasn't a nobody. He was excellent. I mean, these guys are just going to get now the best pitcher on the face of the earth right now when he's healthy to mentor these two. These two could become this three-headed monster they have in their starting rotation in the next, let's say they come up in 4 years, could be filthy. If they're as good as they really are with deGrom, and then deGrom helps those two, it could get scary in the next end of his contract in the 4th and 5th year if Kumar and them are ready. It could be a scary rotation, and I think you could see them easily compete for the West if those three guys stay how they are and are what they say they are.
Yeah, legit. I think they will be solid in the next couple of years. Like I said, they are financially investing in the money. And we talked about Steve Cohen earlier, and we talked about the Yankees and all these other teams that have spent money this offseason and have really committed to winning. And, the Rangers are just strictly just another example of that. They are willing to spend the money. They will not. They refuse to be mediocre. And, they committed to this rebuild by signing those two guys for $500 million combined last offseason. You got even better this offseason. So I am proud of what the Rangers did.
Yeah.
Very proud of what they did.
Like I said, it can't get worse if you don't lose anybody.
We have one last team to discuss, and this is a team that I fucking hate these guys. I might hate them more than I hate the Red Sox just because they annoy the living shit out of me. It's the Toronto Blue Jays, who I think personally got significantly worse So the Toronto Blue Jays added Chris Bassett, who was with the Mets last year, solid year. We talked about him earlier. And they added Kevin Kiermaier, who missed a significant time with injuries last year, but has still been a solid big leaguer, great defender, not a great hitter. So those are the two adds. But at the same time, they lose Teoscar Hernandez. They traded him to Seattle. And they lose Ross Stripling, who was a solid pitcher for them last year. Very quietly, very good for the Blue Jays last year. And they lost JBJ, who's like the best hitter on planet Earth. So with the Blue Jays, man, Teoscar Hernandez only had 1 year left in his deal, which is fine. So I understand they got solid bullpen arms back in that deal, which they desperately needed. But you lost so much offense here. I think you lost so much offense here to the point where, like, Teoscar is a very solid bat that is very hard to replace. And Kevin Kiermaier is not really the guy that you replace the bat with. So at the end of the day, when I look at the landscape of the AL East, I think that it is the Yankees, and then there's everybody else. I think that
100%.
The Baltimore Orioles said that they were going to commit to a rebuild and spend money this year. You don't sign Kyle Gibson and Adam Frazier and think that's a done deal because that team did not make any improvements. We obviously talked about the Boston Red Sox. If anything, they stayed the same or got worse. They lost Xander and all those other pieces and added right back, but I just still don't think that they're going to match up to these other teams. The Tampa Bay Rays, not really sure what they did outside of signing Zach Eflin. They didn't get better. I guess they prey on Wander Franco's health, but I still just don't think they touched the Yankees. And with the Toronto Blue Jays, they add a starter, which is great, but at the same token, they lose to Teoscar Hernandez. So I think it's the Yankees versus everybody else. I think the Yankees could win this division by, 5, 7, 10 games next year.
10.
Yeah.
At least.
I think it's super realistic, man.
10.
And that's not even a biased thing. Like, when you look at these teams on paper, like, there's a significant gap, Unless something drastic happens in this, and it damn well near, it could. The Blue Jays could go trade for fucking Brian Reynolds, and it's just completely different. But I think there's just such a huge gap, man. Such a huge gap.
And I just the Blue Jays get there and they just never finish. Even when they had their good teams, they just never finish. They just come up short.
Yeah.
Same thing with Heim. Heim comes up short. I just think he does. I don't want to keep going back to it, but it's hard not to when we're talking about the AL East.
Hilarious, man.
What he doesn't have a World Series to show for it. Yeah, he's brought small market teams to the postseason just to get bounced. Did he go to the World Series? No, that was he was with the Red Sox in 2020, so he didn't go to the World Series. So a lot of these teams just continue to come up short. So this is the Yankees division to win. The Blue Jays, they added Bassett. They added Gosman last year. Everybody thought that was crazy. They added Barrios, thought that was crazy. They added Ryu. Everybody was going crazy. They still didn't do anything. Let's be real. They didn't make anything out of it. They didn't. For what everybody hyped it up to be, I think other people were saying they should have won that division last year. Going into last year, they were like, this is that team to beat in the AL.
Yeah.
No. They just, I don't know. They're just they look good on paper, but then are they really that good?
Yeah, they were the paper champs. They were 100% paper champs last year.
They look good, but are they?
I don't know. They're the paper champs.
Yeah. And the Kiermaier signing is against stay healthy. It's not going to hit for you.
No.
So losing Teoscar is huge. You replace him with Kiermaier, not good. Losing Stripling, who was good. You replace him with Bassett, who is good. It's just kind of that was kind of a meh offseason.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right. We covered all of our teams, and this ended up being about an hour and a half. So that's interesting. Yeah, we kind of ripped through this. It was a blast. I had a good time.
Yeah,
it was great.
It was fun.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to drop us a subscribe. Obviously, we're not branded and everything yet, but that will come eventually. So you can drop a subscribe.
Year, I promise.
Guys, comment down below. Who do you think had the best offseason? Talk to us about, what you thought about the offseason, who had the best signing, who had the worst signing, who was shitty. Obviously, the A's stink instead of the Marlins because they didn't spend any money. But Steve Cohen's a freakazoid and now has a $500 million payroll. So you can find all of our socials. I'll drop them in the description. And they are also right below us because I have the Twitter taglines down below. So, guys, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.